Hey Max, so I read online the other day that Apple is changing the gun emoji to a water pistol. So basically, they just completely got rid of all of the mass shooting problems in America with that only.
I'm running for president.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of The Liberty Boys, the Libertarian podcast, aka Lib Chat, and I'm here once again with the Dylan Allman.
The Dylan Allman.
You can't forget the, because I think if you just type in Dylan Allman, you may get someone completely different on Twitter. I'm actually going to try that right now
Yes.
while you do your little intro.
They stole I used to have Dylan_Allman, and then I was like, I don't want the underscore anymore. So I just put the Dylan Allman because someone took Dylan Allman. And then one day I was like, okay, maybe I do want the underscore. And then someone freaking took that while I had it changed. So I'm just stuck with the Dylan Allman.
Well, some filthy animal joined in March 2012, apparently. And they're named Dylan Allman.
Yeah.
And they haven't tweeted yet.
I know.
But they have 2 followers. And they haven't even uploaded a profile picture. So you know, I think you might be winning here. Yeah,
it kind of pisses me off. But let's go ahead. Let's get started. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the Libertarian town hall on CNN.
Absolutely. I'd kind of like to know what everyone else thought about that as well. So if you guys want to mention me in your Twitter post, I guess that's the proper verbiage for that. I don't know. I'm still kind of a noob. But
yes.
Mention me and kind of let me know what you thought about the Libertarian town hall, because I thought it was... I can't say I was too... I'll get into that later, but I thought it was awesome of the popularity of it, and that it was, I believe it was the most watched hour on TV at that time. I don't know, I'm probably wrong with that, but
yeah, I saw that. It was the most watched cable show that night.
Right. That's what I was thinking, and that's awesome, because kind of like the reason why we're doing this in the first place is to just get the conversation happening, to kind of just open up that first door, and I think that this does a good job of doing that. You know, as long as everyone kind of got opened up to the message that we're bringing to the table here as a party and as a theology, not theology,
ideology,
as a ideology. I think that is kind of serving its own purpose in and of itself.
That is a true statement. We want to get out there and spread this ideology as far and wide as we can, because it makes so much sense, and everyone else will think it makes sense as well. What were some things that you liked about it and disliked?
I kind of think I touched on like why I liked it. I really liked not 100% the content per se. I think we got to see a lot of Bill Weld that we hadn't really gotten to see prior to this town hall.
Bill Weld's got some jokes, man.
He does. He's willing to toss some shade here and there, and I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of it, because you know I respect them going into this as the adults on stage. If I'm sorry, when they get on the debate stage with Hillary and Trump. I think Gary Johnson is going to be the adult on stage, but I kind of like seeing Bill Weld as that kind of clever sidekick character, you know, throwing jabs here and there, because that is what Hillary and Trump are doing, and it's kind of fun to see that from a stance that I support as well.
One thing I found this fact about Bill Weld, they were kind of talking about it on MSNBC when they like first started getting in the news. It's that he was a Republican governor in a predominantly Democratic state, Massachusetts.
And that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just...
And he got elected the first time, but his re-election, there are 351 towns in Massachusetts. Only 6 of them didn't vote for him.
And I think that's fantastic.
That's crazy.
Where else do you really have that happen?
That speaks volumes.
I participate and work closely with local politics as well. But yeah, as a governor, I mean, where else can you get that kind of unity? Because that's what our country needs right now. I think we have good ideas. I think we have good liberal ideas. I think we have good conservative ideas. But what we need is some unity to really bring the people together. And I don't see either other of the candidates doing that. I see Gary Johnson He may not be as strong and backbone as some more radical conservatives are, and as I guess what libertarianism is thought of, maybe a little bit more conservative than what Gary's bringing to the table, especially what he mentioned on or during the town hall. But I'll touch on that here in a minute, so you can kind of get started on that as well. But I think that he is more moderate, and that he is and that he's able to speak about things on either end, and good ideas from either end, and we're able to get that bipartisanship that I think he'll help bring to the table.
Of course.
And part of that I'll kind of let you touch on, because I know you had mentioned this to me earlier this week, is was that an endorsement of Black Lives Matter by Gary Johnson, or
it definitely seemed like it. He came out and said that he liked what they were doing because he truly believed that there was still discrimination against black people in the community, particularly with cops. And I have a very strong opinion about Black Lives Matter. From a broad standpoint, the movement itself, the whole we're going to, bring black issues to the forefront and we're going to try to get them resolved and looked at, that's fine. Like, you're standing up for something you believe in, but this actual political movement is getting way out of hand and very ridiculous. And at least I hope Gary Johnson just doesn't know all the facts about it, because it's kind of a new thing. And
he did mention he had his head in the sand about the issue, and kind of prefaced his statement on that.
I have a really strong opinion about Black Lives Matter. I think that they are filled with hypocrisy when it comes to racism. They advocate for everyone to be equal, but then all of a sudden they'll start yelling at white people and stuff for being white, and doing all these very hypocritical things when it comes to racism, and they resort to violence, and it's crazy the amount of things that they'll do. There's been different groups that have come out and said that they want cops to be killed, and just watching these people, a part of Black Lives Matter, on the news giving interviews, and they're so quick to convict these cops of these shootings when there's not all the facts, but then all of a sudden, when there is overwhelming facts against a shooting that it was completely justified, they'll step back and say, hey, we don't have all the facts. So it's very infuriating to me when those types of things will come out, just like the new shooting with that new lady that everyone's freaking out about. I can't remember her name, if you want to look that up real quick. But she, it was completely justified. She had previous things that she was pulled over for. She had a warrant for her arrest. And while she was in the car, she recorded a video.
Was that Corin Gaines?
Yes. She was in the car. She was recording with her 3-year-old kid in the back seat. And she was like, hey, to her kids, she was like, you don't let these cops take you out. You kick and scream as much as you can. And she's just getting pulled over for a traffic violation. And these cops come up and they're like, hey, we want your license and registration. And she's like, you're going to have to kill me before you get me out of this car. You're going to have to murder me. Get ready for that. And they're like, ma'am, come on. What's your problem?
And I think there's a separate issue with Corin Gaines that I mentioned. That was the young woman that was in her house with her son.
Yeah.
And that was due to a failure to show up at court, and the police were ready to serve warrants for that. And that was another recent issue. That was earlier this month, actually.
Yeah, and so it was just a problem because all the Black Lives Matter is saying don't forget her life, all this, the cops are crazy, white people privilege, all this. And it's look, that was completely justified when you look at the facts of how she was they had a warrant for her arrest. She has a shotgun sitting in the bathroom with her 5-year-old son in her lap, yelling at the cops, posting videos of her son, and she's feeding this information to her son that the cops are there to kill them. And they sit there for 6 hours, and eventually she gets up, she points the gun at the officers and says, I'm going to kill you. At that point, the officer shoots her, and she dies. And it's I don't understand how you can't say that that's justified, but people in Black Lives Matter will somehow find a way to justify that. And it's just baffling to me. And this type of thing, you wouldn't have seen Rosa Parks standing on stage twerking with like bubble butt on her pants. Like that's ridiculous. And if you're going to fight for something, don't fight to stop racism with more racism. It's very hypocritical and doesn't get anywhere. It actually just makes it worse.
Yeah, and I thought Gary Johnson's endorsement of that was a surprising one to a lot of people, including myself. I'm not sure of my stance on him doing that, but what I think it'll end up benefiting him in the end. We have definitely seen some backlash because of it. I've had many conservative friends who were doubting Trump, but not really sure where to look. They asked me about this. I must have gotten 5 questions today, kind of asking, what was up with Gary Johnson's endorsement of Black Lives Matter? And my only answer that I could provide is, look, he's trying to cover the board here. He's mentioned heavily his stance on taxes and taxation, which is going to be a fiscally conservative thing, cutting taxes, and it would appeal to that. But on his social policy, libertarians are socially tolerable today, but as we've known it for many years, is socially liberal. And this is definitely a liberal stance of his, and I do see it justified. Gary is a little bit more left-leaning than a lot of conservatives want, but we really have to remember what libertarianism is about here. This is about being fiscally conservative and understanding where our money's going and making sure it's going to appropriate things. But it's also socially liberal and standing for the rights and the equality across the land. And so I believe that Gary was really able to hit that in an interesting way and really appeal to a much more broad base of voters in doing this.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, he also pushed a lot of people away with that. Just with all the new stuff coming out, they had Black Lives Matter came out, about 60 organizations associated with the Black Lives Matter movement. They released like a series of demands on I think last Monday, where they asked for full and free access for all black people, including undocumented and currently and formerly incarcerated people, to lifetime education, a guaranteed minimum livable income for all black people, corporate and government reparations for slavery, and mandated public school curriculum. So pretty much what that means is they get free lifetime of education. So private schools, college, you name it, for people who are even undocumented and in jail, they get this. Guaranteed minimum livable wage for everyone, so they don't even have to work. They just get money just for doing nothing. Reparations for slavery. But the last thing here, mandated public school curriculums, that's really interesting to me, because if they're going to choose what they want to teach the children in the black communities, what are they going to... A lot of the Black Lives Matter people, they're teaching everyone that white people are the devil and that they have this victimhood growing up. And if they're going to mandate those type of teachings, it's never going to get better, because this doesn't sound like equality for me. I am all for equality, but this is not equality. This is completely favoring one group of people over another.
Yeah, and I do see it that way too, to an extent. Is this going? What my only question I bring to the table is, what is going to bring the American people together again? And that's honestly what we need here. Is it going to be continuously benefiting one group over the other, whether it be white people, black people, senior citizens, anyone? What is freedom? What's equality? What's liberty? And in my opinion, that is taking care of everyone equally. This is, I completely support, maybe extra funding for teachers and military and stuff that we're kind of doing, making sure those people that are really contributing to our future. And teachers, they're the ones teaching our youth. I think that's a very important job to have. Yeah. And military is defending our country from foreign threats. If we didn't have them, we would get the shit blown out of us. Excuse my language, but that's it. If we didn't have the military, that's what would happen. If we didn't have teachers, we would have an uneducated youth, which is in a way I think that we're facing right now. I think we have a large scale issue that kids aren't receiving the greatest education in the world, and I don't understand why they aren't when they're living in the best country in the world. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to my most favorite tweet. Why are we prioritizing a war budget over an education budget?
Preposterous.
And maybe not word for word. I'm not saying that we need to go to full Common Core education, but what I'm saying is why are we focusing harder with people that we're fighting than
it's because of all the unnecessary military interventions.
Exactly. Instead of teaching our youth, we're getting our youth ready for battle, and I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's a big thing Gary Johnson has a stance on, is the unnecessary military interventions for things that aren't necessary to defending our country and directly affects us. If it doesn't directly affect our country or our security, then we don't get involved. And that's pretty appealing to me and to a lot of other people, especially Bernie supporters. That's a big thing. Him and Bernie Sanders had a similarity of.
But I was getting all heated up. I can sit here and talk foreign policy for hours and hours on end, but I guess that'll be it for another episode.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to talk about is next, or I think this week, the next town hall on CNN is for Jill Stein, and she's the Green Party candidate. The other third. It sounds weird saying the other third party candidate. Wouldn't she be like the fourth party candidate?
Yeah, I think that's definitely fourth party candidate.
But I didn't know a lot about Jill Stein, and I decided to look up a lot of stuff. And I was reading through the different things that she had on her website, and she is very socialist, very. And
see, at face value, I want to like her. Mm-hmm. I like her attitude towards politics, and I like what she stands for in a way. But I guess you'll touch on this some more. But the last, I guess it was the debate or town hall that she had. I forget which one it was, but it was just it really turned me off, and it really turned me away. I'm like, yeah, I thought you were better than this.
The thing she's advocating for is way out there, very radical. Things like the way she's going to get rid of unemployment. Basically, if you're unemployed, the government will employ you. So there won't be anyone unemployed. I don't know what kind of jobs they're going to come up with for these people to do for the government, but the government will employ them to do something, and it's their last resort. And also, she wants to raise the federal minimum wage to $15. And so I was thinking to myself, I don't know if this is how it's going to work, but just by reading that, there's kind of a loophole there. If you don't want to work, if you're really bad at your job and you don't try, they're not going to fire you. Because if they fire you, you're going to be unemployed, and then they'll just rehire you back to the government, and you're going to be $15 an hour, which is beyond livable. So this completely defeats any incentive to work at all, because you don't have to do anything.
And that's the opposite of equality and what anything that libertarianism stands for. That's not freedom. Opposite. That's just giving the government more control over your life, and basically saying any plan that you could construct is far inferior to anything that the government could provide for you. And I think that's a very dangerous situation to put ourselves in.
Exactly. And she's for no student debt at all whatsoever. It's just not possible to have it, apparently. And free education all the way through college for everyone. That's so out there. She has like pages on what they're going to do for the environment and stuff. And
there's so many different directions I could argue against that. Predominantly with business and such, but I don't think we even have enough time to really delve into that during this episode. But I'd definitely like to have a discussion on domestic business and foreign policy, and I'm really excited to get this to really enter in all the episodes of this podcast.
Oh, of course, man. Last thing I just wanted to bring up. I made this poll on Twitter. I thought it was pretty funny. Pretty much what it was is I put who would be your pick for president, and I gave 4 choices. First choice was Windows 1995, Hillary Clinton, a 1998 Range Rover, or FarmersOnly.com. Guess who won?
I can tell you who I voted for. I actually don't remember who won. But I voted for Range Rover.
First place with 37% of the vote, farmersonly.com. They would make pretty good. They're all for inclusion for farmers.
For
second
farmers,
place.
Elitists.
Second place, Windows 95 with 29% of the vote.
Oh, man. I remember having Windows 95.
Third place, 1998 Range Rover with
Hey!
23% of the vote.
There we go.
And in fourth place, over in her corner, Miss Hillary Clinton with 11% of the vote.
Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
I thought that was interesting. If I'm gonna start posting polls and stuff like that on my Twitter, so if you guys want to look out for that, that would be great. But that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for our show this week. We don't do weekly, so I can't say this week. We'll just say episode number 2. That'll wrap it up for episode number 2. So,
Dose.
if you want to give a like to this, depending on what you're listening to it on, and subscribe to us and follow us on Twitter.
Wait, one damn minute. I did not get any DMs last week, and that bothered me. So
we had over like 170 views on our last podcast for the first one.
I know.
And none of them DM'd
you know what?
Max.
It doesn't even have to get as personal as a DM. If you just tag me on Twitter and
just say you heard it.
Say you listened for the code word Willie Nelson.
All right, that's an interesting
So,
choice.
if you tweet me at Max Eckert, and then however you want to put Willie Nelson or picture Willie Nelson, send that to me, and I will Snapcash you $2, and I will give you a shout out and retweet, and so will the Dylan Allman. I'm sure if you might be able to talk him into it.
The Dylan Allman. But that's gonna wrap it up for us. Make sure to we're gonna try to get these out a couple of times a week, so stay tuned for that. And we're having a lot of fun with this, so make sure to leave a comment, tweet us about what you may want us to talk about, what you thought about the show. That would be amazing.
And we left one thing out.
Yeah, what is that?
We need a plethora of blue dads with us next episode.
Big blue dads.
I'm talking like larger than your standard blue dad, like probably about 1.33 times larger than your standard dad, and I want them all to sing a chorus for the show.
Okay. It's the kind that do weekly cookouts in the backyard.
Yeah, they're wearing their like K-Swiss shoes with some like black socks and cargo shorts with like a little like wife beater on. They're like, "Hey, come to the barbecue."
Here on the Liberty Boys podcast, we really love our blue dads and the way they live their lives, and they should be able to live their lives the way that they see fit, and we really stand for that, and we're glad that our viewers do too. So we're gonna sign off with that, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy birthday, and we love you with all of our hearts. Amen.
Hey, where are the white women at?
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.
Okay, you go then.
No, I don't want to go anymore. Too. What's up, everyone? Damn it!
You said you didn't want to do it.
I know, but I lied. I'm hoping you didn't want to either, so I just started.
Okay.